What's happening, everyone? Jimmo back in the booth, and today we're going to be working on this Chevy Cruze. We'll be covering a little spot in the quarter. There's a dent all the way down the dog leg into the rocker panel, and that door was replaced, the rear door, which you can see is currently covered in primer. So we're going to apply a bit of sealer in a few areas, and that's just to give it a little bit of added protection over a couple of breakthroughs from the sanding process, and will give us a uniform color to start with. So we're going to just kind of fade that sealer out. We're using the Walcom, what do they call that? The Walcom Kombat. It's kind of a half-size gun, designed more for sealer, and it works very well for sealer, especially for smaller areas such as this. So we're going to apply it over all of these breakthroughs, and that's just going to add a bit of protection over any parts that have exposed filler or metal. So we're going to blend out our sealer in this step here with a blending reducer. It's designed for Clearcoat. You'll usually hear it referred to as a Clearcoat reducer or Clearcoat blender, and it works well for fading out the edge of the blend. So we've got our paint loaded up now in the Walcom HVLP gun with a 1.3 on there. So typically I've used the Walcom HTE base gun for most of the base coat application you've seen with the Walcoms. The HVLP is a similar type of gun in the sense that it's carbon fiber and very lightweight, but it lays the product on a little bit differently than the HTE base. But it seems to work very well. So we're going to just cover everything here with our first coat, and it's going to take 2 coats plus an effect coat to get everything on. So what I like to do with each coat is just bring it a little further and just to step out your blends. And you can do it on a bit of an angle. I like to kind of taper it off a bit so there's not such a straight line when you come across. So at the bottom, we're bringing it out a little further than we would at the top, and that's just my spraying technique, but there's definitely a lot of different ways you can do that. You could go straight as well, provided you have a really good blend and a good color match. You're not going to see any sort of difference, but by angling it off, I find it's the best way to minimize any chance of catching a glimpse of a blend. So here we go, we've got the second coat. We're letting it dry for about 5 to 10 minutes. I believe today was a little more humid when I was painting, so the drying time takes a little bit longer, especially if you're not using blowers. So on a humid day, the air in the water, since we're using waterborne paint, prevents the water in the paint from evaporating and drying properly because of the humid conditions. So you want to get as much air movement as possible. A little higher temperature can help as well, but ideally, air movement is what dries waterborne paint quickly. So now we're going to apply our effect coat or drop coat, whatever you want to call it, which is a slightly drier coat. We're going to pull our distance back about 6 additional inches from the panel and just try and even out the metallics. And you want to make sure it's good and flashed off before you do this. And I think in my earlier videos, I kind of went with the attitude of it didn't really make a huge difference, but in higher metallic colors and challenging blends, it does make quite a big difference. So you want to make sure it is good and dry, and it'll make life a little bit easier getting a nice even blend. So now we're going to apply the clear coat, and we're going to keep going with our Walcom series. We've got the HTE clear gun laying down the product, and you can see that's the PPS 2.0 adapter on top. And you'll notice I'm wearing my 3M fresh air system, so I recommend using a fresh air system anytime you can. So you want to just prevent any of these chemicals from coming in contact with you, and a constant supply of fresh air will keep you sticking around this planet a little bit longer. So this gun has a 1.3 tip on it. I think a 1.2 may be a bit better suited for the clears I'm working with in this gun. I do find it goes on a little heavy, but it does lay the clear down really nice, very smooth, minimal texture, and it goes down quick, so you're not held up by the speed of the gun. It puts on the product very quick, and that's what I really like in a clear gun. So after our first coat dries for about 5 minutes, we're going to hit it with a second coat, and we're going to choose our hardeners and reducers based on the size of the job combined with the temperature and the humidity. So the humidity is going to decrease the drying time on the clear coat and increase it on waterborne base coats. So we're going to slow down this clear a little bit. But having said that this gun does put out product a little bit quicker than some others, you can push your limits a little bit further than if you were using a gun that was putting on product slower, if that makes any sense. So since we can put it on quicker, we don't have to go extremely slow, but we need to slow down the product a little bit to adjust for the conditions and the size of the job. And one tip when you're putting on clear, what you'll typically want to do is, especially when you get lower on the vehicle, like a part like this, is try and catch different angles of it. I find it beneficial to kind of look up and on an angle at it at any chance you can, and that's going to help you identify any areas that are going on a little too dry. So sometimes it looks like the clear is going on properly and wet and even, but once you change up your angle, you might see that you're not getting full coverage. So make sure you change your angle up a little bit as you're going, especially if your lighting's a little poor, and it might help you identify some flaws in the clear coat, which you can correct before it gets too dry. Otherwise, you will have to polish out that defect once it is fully cured. So once we get this last coat on, this job is going to get a little baked. So if it wasn't in an oven, for instance, if it was at home in your garage, you could let it sit and air dry probably for about 24 hours before you could attempt to polish it. Depends on the type of clear you use. You can have some that are as quick as maybe 3 to 4 hours, but there's different trade-offs and it's kind of a balancing act. But in this case, we're going to bake it for about 20 minutes, and then we are going to let it cool down, reassemble, and that is going to be it. So thanks for watching. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button and that notify bell so you know when these sweet videos are rolling out. And leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought of this one, what you'd like to see, and thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Okay, let's have a little look here, see what we got. Looking pretty nice. Got a nice even look to it, nice blend. Everything's coming up Walcom today.